Welcome, dear friends, to the enchanting world of words, the Millennium Library. Here, memories take us back to warm nights where grandmothers and mothers wove the most wonderful tales. Our only wish now is for you to listen, to dive deep into the heart of the stories that shaped our minds and souls. We have embarked on this unique project, the Millennium Library, to gather for you a treasure trove of timeless novels and stories, and present them to you with voices full of warmth and sweetness. It is a legacy we are creating together between humanity and artificial intelligence to remain a testament to the power of words and the magic of storytelling throughout the ages. We hope you find in it what delights your souls and enriches your imagination. If this work touches your hearts, we would be delighted if you share it with your loved ones. And remember, your support lies in liking this segment and leaving your comments which illuminate our path. We are here to grow by you and with you. With sincere regards from the Millennium Library. Ramai and the Bonga. Once a Bongaon haunted the house of a certain man and became such a nuisance that the man had him exorcised and safely pegged down to the ground. And they fenced in the place where the Bonga lay with thorns, and put a large stone on the top of him. Just at the place was a clump of kite's claws bushes, and one day when the berries on the bushes were ripe, a certain cowherd named Ramai went to pick them, and when he came round to the stone which covered the Bonga, he stood on it to pick the fruit, and the Bonga called out to him to get off the stone. Ramai looked about and seeing no one, said, "Who is that speaking?" And the voice said, "I am buried under the stone. If you will take it off me, I will give you whatever boon you ask." Ramai said that he was afraid that the Bonga would eat him, but the Bonga swore to do him no harm. So he lifted up the stone, and the Bonga came out, and thanking Ramai, told him to ask a boon. Ramai asked for the power to see Bongas and to understand the language of ants. "I will give you the power," said the Bonga, "but you must tell no one about it, not even your wife. If you do, you will lose the power, and in that case you." Then the Bonga blew into his ear, and he heard the speech of ants, and the Bonga scratched the film of his eyeballs with a thorn, and he saw the Bongas, and there were crowds of them living in villages like men. In December, when we thresh the rice, the Bongas carry off half of it, but Ramai could see them and would drive them away, and so was able to save his rice. Once, a young fellow of his own age was very ill, and his friends blew into his ears and partially brought him to his senses, and he asked them to send for Ramai. So they called Ramai, and he had just been milking his cows, and came with the tethering rope in his hand. And when he entered the room, he saw a Bonga sitting on the sick man's chest and twisting his neck. So he flogged it with the rope till it ran away, and he pursued it until it threw itself into a pool of water. And then the sick man recovered. But Ramai soon lost his useful power. One day, as he was eating his dinner, he dropped some grains of rice, and two ants fell to quarreling over one grain, and Ramai heard them abusing each other, and was so amused that he laughed out loud. His wife asked why he laughed, and he said at nothing in particular. But she insisted on knowing, and he said that it was at some scandal he had heard in the village. But she would not believe him and worried him until he told her that it was at the quarrel of the ants. Then she made him tell her how he gained the power to understand what they said. But from that moment he lost the powers which the Bonga had conferred on him. The Boundary Bonga. There was once a man who owned a rich, swampy rice field. Every year he used to sacrifice a pig to the boundary bonga before harvest, but nevertheless the bonga always reaped part of the crop. One year, when the rice was ripening, the man used to go and look at it every day. One evening after dusk, as he was sitting quietly at the edge of the field, he overheard the bonga and his wife talking. The bonga said that he was going to pay a visit to some friends, but his wife begged him not to go because the rice was ripe and the farmer would be cutting it almost at once. However, the bonga would not listen to her advice and set off on his journey. The farmer saw that there was no time to be lost, and the very next day he sacrificed the usual pig and reaped the whole of the crop. That evening, when work was over, he stayed and listened to hear whether the bonga had come back, but all was quiet. The next day he threshed the paddy, and instead of 20 bushels as usual, he found that he had got 60 bushels of rice. That evening he again went to the field, and this time he found that the bonga had returned and was having a fine scolding from his wife because he had let the farmer reap the whole crop. "Take your silly pig and your silly plate of flour from the sacrifice," screamed the bonga's wife, throwing them at her spouse. "That is all you have got. This is all because you would go away when I told you not to do it. How could I reap the crop with the children to look after? If you had stayed, we might have got 5 bandas of rice from that field." The Bonga exorcised. A very poor man was once plowing his field, and as he plowed the share caught fast in something. At first he thought that it was a root and tried to divide it with his axe, but as he could not cut it, he looked closer and found that it was a copper chain. He followed the chain along, and at either end he found a brass pot full of rupees. Delighted with his luck, he wrapped the pots in his cloth and hurried home. Then he and his wife counted the money and buried it under the floor of their house. From that time the man began to prosper. His crops were always good, and his cattle increased and multiplied. He had many children, and they grew up strong and healthy, and were married, and had children of their own. But after many years, luck changed. The family was constantly ill, and every year a child died. The Jan Guru who was consulted declared that a Kisar Bonga was responsible for their misfortunes. He told the sons how their father had found the money in the ground, and said that the Bonga to whom the money belonged was responsible for their misfortunes and was named Mainomati. He told them how to get rid of the bonga. They were to dig up the buried money and place it in bags and load it on the back of a young heifer, and take 5 brass nails and 4 copper nails and 2 rams. If the bonga was willing to leave the house, the heifer would walk away to another village directly the bags were placed on its back. But if the bonga would not go, the heifer would not move. So they did as the Janguru advised, And when the bags were placed on the heifer, it walked away to a large peepal tree growing on the banks of a stream in another village, and there it stopped. Then they sacrificed the rams and, uttering vows over the nails, drove them into the peepal tree and went home, turning the heifer loose. From that time their troubles ceased. But that evening a man driving his cattle home saw a young woman nailed to the peepul tree, and not knowing that she was a Bonga, he released her and took her home and married her. Conclusion of our journey. And so we reach the conclusion of our journey for today, within the unending worlds of words and the never folding pages of knowledge. We have spent an enjoyable and beneficial time together within the embrace of Millennium Library, where voices meet tales and a new cultural legacy is forged. We hope you have enjoyed every moment and delved deeply into the dimensions of the story or novel we presented to you. Always remember that this grand edifice, Millennium Library, is the result of a unique collaboration between human creativity and the profound depth of artificial intelligence. Our goal is to enrich your ears and minds with the treasures of world literature and to make knowledge accessible to everyone, while preserving the ownership rights of Millennium Library for this distinctive production. Don't forget to follow us and activate the notification bell to receive all new content. And share this podcast with everyone around you, for knowledge is light, and together we illuminate the paths. Until we meet again in a future episode and a new literary adventure, may you be in the care and keeping of Allah, and within the realm of immortal words. Millennium Library, where tales are embodied, knowledge is narrated, and creativity is immortalized.